Difficulty done right can be extremely fun and satisfying in video games. I like hard games. Test my gaming skills, please. Difficulty designed to make you fail and test your patience more than your actual gaming skill? That just isn't for me. Welcome to completion number 26 of the Potato Backlog project. Started in January 2023. For more information, see the description below. Make sure you stick around to the end of the video for the world-renowned, ever-famous Tater Raider. And let's talk about Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. The Insane Trilogy consists of the 3 original Crash Bandicoot games, originally released for PlayStation in 1996, 97, and 98. This trilogy and character were at the forefront of Sony's push for market share during the console wars of the 1990s. Tiny disclaimer on this one is I might catch some backlash from hardcore Crash fans, and that's fine. My goal in these videos is sharing my thoughts and experiences with the games as played in 2023. Me not liking something does not invalidate your likes, thoughts, or opinions on the same thing. Comment below if you want to try to change my mind. I love talking about video games. I also understand these are remakes of the originals built from the ground up and might not represent the same experience players had with those games in the late 90s. So let's start with some of the things I liked. The package as a whole. If you're a fan of platformers or played this as a kid, catch a sale here and you get yourself a ton of content. All 3 games remastered and ready to play out of the box. No need to beat the first game to unlock the second and so on. You can pick your favorite and hit the ground running. Playing through the stories alone is only about 6 hours per game, but these games are designed around you replaying the levels to find everything for 100% completion. They added time trial options to the first 2 games, and the menus and lists make it super simple to track all your progress. If this is your style of game and you have the patience of a monk, then there's value here for the dollars you're gonna spend. The game looks really good. The updated graphics are great. When you look back on the old games, just the way 3D games were built and the limitations of the technology at the time, then you look at this game, it's like the game goes from being really blurry to coming into focus for the first time. It's really cool to see the character looking this good within the original games. Probably really close to what it looked like in the imaginations of the original game creators, if not better. Gameplay and level design, especially for the first game, is horrible. I did a little bit of reading, and some fans say the jump itself does not feel right compared to the first game. Maybe this is why the first game of the remaster feels so absolutely unforgiving. Maybe those players are just remembering the game a little differently than it actually was. My memory of playing the original back in the day is of a game that had really bad controls and got boring really fast. The levels were designed around precise movements and timing, and they didn't give you the tools to execute. Sony's analog controller had just come out and this game didn't support it. So the precision needed for this type of 2.5D platforming, it just didn't mesh for me. This is the same experience I had with the remaster. The first game being the worst offender of the 3. You will die a lot in this game. And not because you don't know how to push buttons, but because the game is designed to kill you. It's not designed for a fun experience. It's meant for repeated attempts until you have that one perfect run. And I'm usually all for these things, except when done really poorly. The 2.5D platforming itself is hindered by difficult to judge depth, along with non-existent or extremely inconsistent enemy hitboxes. Instead of playing through a difficult game and reacting to the things it puts in front of you on the fly, it consistently kills you with what feels like an almost unfair advantage. This really deterred me from doing any level exploring as I became hyper-focused on just getting through the games. I didn't have the patience left to go die 30 more times to find secret areas, some of which you either have to just know are there, or you have to jump off into nothing to find them. Good platformers know how to make exploring for secrets fun and rewarding, like Donkey Kong Country. This is not one of those games. The big problem for me is that when you finally do complete some of those areas you're stuck on, there's little to no sense of accomplishment, no excitement, no awesome feeling that you just conquered some insane stuff. It's a quick sigh of relief that you got lucky enough to avoid all the garbage, and then a feeling of dread for what garbage comes next. I want to be excited for the next challenge, and sad when I run out of things to do and levels to play. That wasn't the case here for me. And to be fair, the second and third game did remedy a lot of the issues I had with the first. The level designs did get a bit better in 2. They also give you a slide which you can link into a jump for a higher jump. This helped the variety in the gameplay a tiny bit, though they do not tell you that you have this ability. I had to die 6 times trying to make a jump before I figured out you can get more height if you cancel out of the slide into jump. I also ended up going back to the first game for a little bit after completing all 3. I needed to see if the initial difficulty I experienced was me not being used to how the game played, or if it was just that poorly put together. And unfortunately, it is definitely the more difficult and poorly designed of the 3 games, which makes sense as it was the first attempt. Again, it's just too bad in a remaster they don't take steps to maybe remedy that a little bit, smooth that experience out just a little bit better. It feels like there are frame perfect sequences. It feels like the difficulty is overkill to compensate for the simplistic nature of the game overall. Like, hey, you won't notice how 90% of the levels are the exact same here if we make them nearly impossible to complete. I feel like the second game is the strongest of the 3 Crash Bandicoot games offered here. The third game had some of the better enemies and level designs, but it was hurt by what I would consider filler levels that involved Crash riding a motorcycle, flying an airplane, and his sister driving a jet ski around. The mechanics in these areas were super simple and again, really bad control-wise. It was patience over skill. I gotta think the third game was rushed to release maybe, because these felt so out of place to me for what the core platform experience was built around and the rest of what the third game had to offer. If you had never played a Crash game before but were interested in this, I would suggest skipping the first game, starting on 2, then play through 3, and then dip your foot into the first game. But if it ends up driving you nuts, just leave it. There is no satisfaction to be had there by completing it. Trust me. The endings in these games are bad. Maybe they're extended if you get all the collectibles, but I'm talking 5 to 10 second cutscene and it's roll credits. I was in disbelief. The games are light on story as it is, almost non-existent, and 3 had the most dialogue and interesting characters and the most involved story, but all of them feel absolutely anticlimactic in all the big moments. It's a major problem with the boss battles themselves. Out of the 16 or so across all 3 games, I can think of only 2 or 3 that were actually fun, interesting, well-designed boss fights. The visual boss designs themselves were cool, but the fights designed around them were almost embarrassingly bad. The final boss sequence in all 3 games, really bad. In the end, these games just weren't for me. I think the character is interesting visually. The core moveset of spin and jump, it just isn't enough to carry these games. The slide addition in the second game and unlockable double jump in the third game helped some, but overall the majority of the level design falls flat, uninspired, and uninteresting. Since the first game berates you for missing boxes you didn't break, my mission became seeing how many I could miss and pass a level. 90 was my record. I shouldn't be thinking about these things if the game had my attention properly. Just because it wasn't for me doesn't mean it isn't great for some people. The Insane trilogy sold 10 million copies. They made a 4th game because of the popularity. The characters themselves have staying power, but the original series gameplay design just doesn't hold up for me. I feel like this character's popularity comes directly out of the console wars of the time. Real console wars. A time when it was more important to make good commercials bashing the other company instead of making good games. Image and ads in magazines mattered. Gamers in the 90s didn't have parents that grew up gaming, so convincing them you needed multiple consoles was pretty much out of the question for the most part. So the kids that had PlayStation got Crash Bandicoot, and they rallied around him as their mascot. They loved him, and they defend the games as gold until the day they die. There's nothing wrong with that either. I'm sure there are a ton of games I like and love that are probably garbage to others. The great thing is the fans got a remaster for a new generation, for the gamers that lived through it, and for a whole new set of gamers to discover. All that being said, for the entire package, the Insane trilogy itself, 3 happy potato faces out of 5. Rapid fire tater rater for the 3 games individually. Crash 1 happy potato face out of 5. Crash 2, 4 happy potato faces out of 5. Crash 3, 2 happy potato faces out of 5. I think it peaked at 2 and everything worked really well in that game outside the weak bosses, useless crawl mechanic, and laughably bad finale. For a remastered offering of a classic game franchise, though, it's packed full of stuff to do if you enjoy the heavy challenge and completing games 100%. This game will not feel fair a lot of the time. It's not designed to be fair. It's not designed to test your gaming skills per se. It's designed to test your patience and determination to continue on. But with that, the Backlog project rolls on. Thanks for watching. Be kind to yourselves and others that deserve it. We're on to the next one. Difficulty done right can be the level. Can you hurry? Damn it, Crash. Didn't have a lot of bloopers for this one. I can think of well designed, fun, well designed, fun.